Good afternoon. As chairman of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, I am so glad that we are joined by, as you can see, a lot of our members here. We're here to speak about the issue that occurred today in the House of Representatives regarding a vote that was taken on H.R. 673. And before we speak to that issue, I just want to highlight another issue that has been taken by our governor, and that is when he made a decision to join in an amicus brief against the advice of our Attorney General regarding a U.S. Supreme Court case. In the governor's argument as to why Governor Perdue felt he needed to join in the amicus brief, he pointed out that Georgia is no longer the state that it was in 1965 when the Voting Rights Act was first approved by Congress. Well, Mr. Governor, we disagree with you. Georgia may not be the same state it was in 1965 according to your philosophy, but when you look at the vote that occurred in the House today, the vote that occurred today is a vote that would have occurred in 1965, so we all respectfully disagree with our governor. The governor also makes another argument in this amicus brief that Georgia's been held hostage by its local governments. Well, Governor, as Democrats, we feel that you are holding all of us hostage up here with the voter ID laws, and I call voter ID 1, where you got to have a state ID card, state photo issue ID card to even vote, as well as the voter ID 2 law, where you got to have proof of citizenship before we even allow you to register to vote. So these cases that I just highlighted to you, in our opinion, speaks to the inequity that we see occurring underneath the go down. I am so delighted to be joined by my fellow legislators from both the House and the Senate to speak to an issue that we really thought would be a moment that we could celebrate a time in the great history of this nation where the first African American was elected president, yet we find ourselves defending ourselves in the state of Georgia again. I don't know when members of this legislature, members of this General Assembly are going to realize that we are a strong, strong force and a loud voice up in this General Assembly, and that we're not going to sit idly by and be disrespected by members on the other side of the aisle. I want to introduce the Vice Chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, my good friend, Representative Keith Hurd.
Thank you, Senator Jones. And I, too, am very upset, outraged over normally what is simple, a privilege resolution. A privilege resolution, something where you honor someone that has done good things, or birthdays, special people in your community, that one member, because of either his personal biases or his future political aspirations, chose to have a bill pulled that would only and very simply make President Obama an honorary member of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. Simple. Normally it's not an issue. This piece of legislation passed the Senate with no dissenting votes, but yet this one representative saw need and fit to pull it because of language that's in the resolution, which really has nothing to do with him, other than to say that the members of the General Assembly, and that's customary in all pieces of legislation when you're speaking of individuals who you're going to commend or make honorary members. But this is a sad day. It's a very sad day because even though we have elected the first black African-American president in this country, we still have some in Georgia. We still have some who have decided that for whatever reason, which is other than personal or future political reasons, want to deny this caucus the right to pass a resolution making President Obama an honorary member.
In my 35 years, I've seen many, many resolutions a lot of these veterans have, and I have never seen this type of action taken on the floor of the House. I'm appalled. I'm disappointed. I'm shocked. The fact of the matter is now there's a dark cloud over Georgia, and somebody else has to remove it. I'm in the White House in the morning with President Barack Obama, and to talk about the Recovery Act, and meeting with Secretary LaHood and others across the country and state legislators. And for this action to take place today, it was unnecessary. It could have been avoided, and there's no sense that this takes place. But this is a political act. It's disrespectful to the President of the United States. And it's our president, not your president, as I've heard people say. It's our president. And I voted across the line. I voted on many resolutions that were contrary to my beliefs as it relates to a privilege resolution. President Bush and others. And we've never done this, never. So I think it's an act of disrespect.
When I look at the vote that was taken in the Senate regarding the privilege resolution, there was no dissension whatsoever. Now it goes over to the House, and there's one individual over there, because of a personal bias, for whatever it may be, personal or political, saw fit to pull this resolution, this privilege resolution. And I explained to the press, this is not an individual vote, it is a privileged vote. Now, I'm going to leave it to the press to make a determination as to whether or not a privileged vote in this particular case would be considered racial or unfair according to your standards. But from my perspective, I think it was completely wrong for this individual to pull this privilege resolution from the calendar. This is the language that was inserted by Legislative Council. These are not words that we crafted on our own. We met with council. They put this privilege resolution together. It is similar language that has been used in similar bills. I know in the resolutions, privilege resolutions I've introduced, I've used it many, many times before. It is the body that voted, it was not the GLBC. And we needed the member support to carry this privilege resolution, just as my colleagues in the Senate saw fit to support my efforts over there. Lasting impact is what all of Georgia is going to have to make, because we're going to get more people to the polls. We're going to make a concerted effort to get people out to vote, and we're going to make sure that all of Georgia knows what just happened up here today. I would hate to think that the majority party would allow one individual to usurp their authority on this particular issue, and that they would see fit to reverse themselves and reconsider their actions and pass this privilege resolution, which is a privilege acknowledging all of the members of the House, just as our colleagues on the other side of the aisle saw fit to do. Then in that resolution, some language asking the other 41 members of the black caucuses across the United States of America to do the same. I'm glad that we have one of our chairmen here of Minority Caucus, who happens to be president of the National Black State Caucus, and he saw fit to support the legislation as well as to encourage his members to endorse and support this legislation. So this is just not an effort here in Georgia. This is an effort that we've endorsed and has the support of all the black state, the National Black Caucus.